Hi everyone, in this short little video I want to talk about some basic intuition that I'm going to refer to when we talk about the phenomenon of catch-up or convergence, which is the idea that poor countries tend to grow more quickly than rich countries, and so all countries seem to be converging to a similar level of labor productivity and therefore a similar level of the standard of living. Okay? And it turns out that's true for some countries and not for others, and we'll talk about why in later videos. But here I just want to talk about the underlying intuition, which is the basic mechanism driving this convergence. And so the basic idea here is actually quite simple. We just want to think of firms, they maximize profits. Right? So if I'm a U.S. firm, all I care about is maximizing my profits. So if the profits are greater from if the profits from opening up my next factory in China are greater than the profits from opening up my next factory in the United States, I'm going to go to China and open up my factory. Okay? So we're assuming firms are greedy profit maximizers. They're going to locate their factories where it's going to increase their profits the most. Okay? So that's a pretty basic idea coming out of principles of micro. So the idea here is where firms invest, which countries they invest in, will be driven entirely by profits. The next step is you can think of the marginal product of capital, which is the extra output that firms get from hiring one more unit of capital. And this is, I'm skipping some steps here, but we can say that's roughly going to be equal to the rate of return to capital, i.e. profits. Now, like I said, I am skipping some steps, but I'm just conveying basic intuition here. So if you think about things from the perspective of the firm, the benefit to the firm of building another factory is the extra output the firm gets. Okay? And if we're thinking at that basic level, then the marginal product of capital is basically going to be equal to the rate of return to capital. In other words, it's going to be very similar to the rate of profit, which is I'm just calling here profits. So I want you to, in this example, just think of the marginal product of capital is roughly equal to the rate of return, or the profit rate. And where are firms going to want to locate? Well, they maximize profits, which means they're going to want to locate in the countries that have the highest rate of profit or rate of return, which means they're going to want to locate in the countries with the highest marginal product of capital. So that's the key point. Firms maximize profits, so they locate where rate of return to capital, where profits are the highest, or profit rate, profits are highest, which is, i.e., where the marginal product of capital is the highest. All right, so that is a key point. Firms are going to locate in the countries with the highest marginal product of capital, because those are the countries that are going to have the highest profit rate. So an important assumption here is that firms maximize profits, and if I'm a U.S. firm, I have no real allegiance to the United States. I just want to maximize profits. So if profits are higher in China, I go to China. If they're higher in Mexico, I go to Mexico. If they're higher in the United States, then I stay in the United States. And the same is true of firms all over the world. For Chinese firms, if profits are highest in China, that's where they'll produce. If profits are highest in the United States, then they're going to switch production to the United States. Okay? So this is the basic intuition. Firms maximize profits. The marginal product of capital is roughly the rate of return to capital, or the profit rate. Therefore, firms are going to locate in those countries with the highest marginal product of capital. All right. So that's the basic intuition, and we're going to rely on this throughout our discussion of convergence, or the phenomenon of catch-up.